Greetings and welcome everybody to this week's edition of Poly Weekly News here at InfoComm 2023, courtesy of the Starr and Midwich Group who are in their booth. It's sponsored by, not who it's sponsored by, it's now got a sign up there, us. Hopefully we don't knock it down. Let me introduce my two guests to you. Shannon, why don't you go first? Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Hey everyone, Shannon Shamoon. I lead our global PR program for HV Poly. Happy to be here back at InfoComm 2023.
And Brian, you as well?
Yeah, I'm Brian Phillips. I'm the product marketing director for our video solutions here at Poly HP.
And you heard Brian tell us about all the announcements at ISE that we had there, and now we're at the show. He's going to do the same thing. But before we do that, let's talk about our morning a little bit this morning. So we were at a get-together at a party, and I wasn't here. I was here. You weren't here because you were babysitting our press release that came out just this morning as we record this on Wednesday. What was that press release all about?
Absolutely. We had a very exciting announcement go out today introducing our new hybrid systems ecosystem for our portfolio of video, voice, and AI-based solutions. So that includes our X52, one of our most popular video conferencing units for medium-sized rooms, a new software update, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more here about soon, 4.1, a new Voyager Surround 80 headset, super cool. So if you're not going to be at the show right now, but check it out. Go to poly.com and check out all of our stuff that we announced on the HP Newsroom.
Yeah. So Brian, I'm going to talk to you about some of the specifics of that.
Yeah.
About 3 years ago, I think it was, we launched the X30 and the X50.
We're coming up on 4.
Coming up on 4 years.
October of 2019.
Good.
Yep.
And I'm glad you remembered because I barely remember what I had for breakfast. And no one had anything like it. The built-in systems completely interoperable with all the things that were out there. Hardware-based, firmware-based, not PC-based. Really amazing. And people loved it. We sold a lot of them. And it cut to now, which is, like you said, almost 4 years later. And honestly, everybody's got their version of some type of camera bar that completely copied everything that we did. It's the first one that ever had Zoom, and it's a lot of other first one, Microsoft Teams. So the X52 is our next generation of video bar. I'm assuming it replaces to some extent the X50?
It does.
It's not like we're stopping the sale of the X50.
Correct. No, they'll overlap for a period of time, but it's the follow-on. It's really the next generation version, and we have learned so much in those last few years. Honestly, it's kind of amazing to think that 4 years ago at InfoComm 2019, like the video conferencing world looked completely different than it does now in terms of how you deploy these running native apps on these Android-based video bars. It's a completely different world. And we've learned a ton in that period of time, right? So for example, one of the things that was really a hot topic back in 2019 was making sure that you had cameras in all your devices that were super wide field of view. You got to make sure that everybody's seen and nobody's left out.
Right up against the table, to the side, and all the rest of it.
Right? You got to make sure you see everybody. And so we had these wide field of view cameras. Well, one of the things we really saw as we've been deploying, as our customers have been deploying so many Studio X50s over the last 4 years, that oftentimes in their rooms, a super wide field of view camera ended up kind of a waste. Like you've got a limited number of pixels and we're spreading them out across this wide field of view, but you've got your traditional conference table that's seating 8 or 10 people and you don't need the really wide field of view. It's not giving you any benefit. So we saw opportunity to better optimize the camera experience for those mid-sized spaces, which is why we developed the new Studio X52. So it's got a field of view that is, again, more optimized for mid-sized rooms, a 95 degree instead of 120 degree, with, of course, then upgraded optics, and just, we're super proud of the video experience that you're going to get with the Studio X52, whether you're doing just a more traditional group shot, or you're going to zoom in on the person speaking, or give everybody their own tile in our people framing mode. So it's just got a huge kind of camera quality upgrade within that device.
And I guess that leads us into a conversation about the 4.1 firmware. We released the 4.0 firmware around Enterprise Connect this year, which was kind of a necessary step in order to get up to the right level of Android and make sure that we would stay certified. So apologies to all of our competitors who were sending out all that FUD about how we wouldn't be compatible. We always kept it through. But now 4.1 has got some feature improvements in it, right?
Yes, so we established this kind of new foundation with 4.0. Now we're starting to layer on some of those new innovations that are going to build on top of that. So one of those is a new feature called Director AI Perimeter. So Director AI is how we talk about our smart camera experiences, whether we're framing up a group or a speaker or multiple people. But one of the challenges we saw, especially as people have been returning to the office, and more modern office environments have a lot more glass, right? Because it's really conducive to collaboration when you can see beyond the walls and see what's happening in the office environment. But oftentimes, the impacts to video calls don't get accounted for when designing some of those office spaces. And we can see scenarios where there are people walking by on the outside, or maybe you're actually deploying video in more of an open office environment, and you don't want the people who are outside of the meeting experience to be included as part of your framing or tracking.
Right.
So that's where Director AI Perimeter allows you to basically set kind of some virtual walls around your meeting space so that it will ignore people outside the perimeter. So whether it's the people wandering by outside the glass walls or other people in more of an open office space. And that's a feature that's not just for the Studio X52, but is across all of the Studio X products, as well as our E70 camera that'll be as part of this new software update.
Correct, and that's the thing that we're maintaining, that all of our endpoints still work off of the same operating system, so that's cool.
Yep.
And it's interesting, at Enterprise Connect, one of our competitors talked about how they've come up with technology, to minimize distractions of audio on the outside, how they just invented it, even though we've had acoustic fence for about 10, 15 years, something like that.
It's been quite a while, yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting that they invented something we've had on the market. All right, so definitely check out the X52 when you get a chance. There are videos online. Look for Brian, search for Polly on YouTube, and you'll see that. So let's just go run quickly through a couple of the other things that came out, like the new headsets.
Yes, and so we've got the new Voyager Surround 80. So we had a previous generation version called the Voyager 8200, which is it's the over-the-ear, kind of high-performance Bluetooth headset. This is really the next generation version of that really amps up the audio to a whole new level. It's the first boomless headset on the market that is Teams Open Office certified. So there's other boomless headsets that might be generally Teams certified, but Teams Open Office is like a different level, right? That's being able to use it in a true open office environment with others around you having a conversation. No other headsets that doesn't have a boom has been able to get that Teams Open Office certification. So it's a pretty huge step that really is a proof point for how great the audio is on it. And not only does it sound fantastic like all Poly products, it's going to sound great when you're listening to music or doing other things, but the thing that sets it apart is that voice quality and the richness with which your voice comes through, which is really remarkable given that the thing doesn't have a boom. I'm not quite sure what kind of black magic the engineers did to make it work as well as it does, but it's a pretty remarkable experience.
Yeah, so I'll try and get some pictures of that so people can take a look at it. Again, before you buy anything, before you buy a video bar, before you buy headsets, before you buy anything, go into one of the Poly Experience Centers or one of the HP Experience Centers and look at it, listen to it, get it in your hands. You'll see the difference immediately when we go through all of that. Were any other large announcements at the show this year?
A couple of other things, too, that are standing out. One, along with the Studio X52, which, by the way, is Teams and Zoom certified already.
Right.
We also are getting Teams certification for our TC10 controller. So you'll now be able to use that TC10 as a Teams controller with one of our Android video bars or our Teams certified G7500 codec. But we're also going to be getting Teams panel certification, so as a scheduling device. So you can now have a TC10 outside your conference room to make sure you can quickly see if a room is available, book a space, and then walk inside and use a TC10 to be able to control that whole Teams meeting experience. So that's another thing that's also coming this summer. And a final thing, just in particular because we're at InfoComm and we're at an integrator show, and one of the pain points sometimes is trying to get longer cable lengths, especially with USB-based cameras. Trying to extend USB is painful and challenging and expensive. So now with our Studio E70 camera, you'll be able to connect it to our G7500 video conferencing system over Ethernet. So Ethernet, nice and simple and inexpensive and easy to extend. It's a single cable that can supply power as well as the connectivity between the G7500 and the E70. So that's also coming as part of our...
Considering we started this interview about 10 minutes late because I was dealing with the wiring here in the booth, no complaint to our hosts,
yeah.
But USB can be a little bit of a challenge to make things work.
Yes.
So that's great news. And also, it's not in our press release. We've been talking about it. I don't think we're going to get into it in detail right now, but I know our Edge E-Series phones are now going to be able to work with Microsoft Teams.
Yes, with that Teams SIP gateway.
Teams
they're
SIP gateway,
certified.
so that's a good thing. And there's going to be some other, we're not done making announcements over the course of the year. I can't tell you everything, but there are lots of things that I can tell you. Shannon, you get busy with those press releases. And do a little bit of, revealing the dirty laundry under the covers. How many versions of that press release were there?
You don't want to know. I would prefer not to say.
No, it's okay. Don't say what was in them, but how many iterations
No, I'm just
do we
saying
go through?
it takes a village, like there are so many people involved in making these announcements happen, especially given it is our entire portfolio of solutions across video, voice, software, partner integrations, partner certifications, our alliances with Teams and Google and Zoom and others. I mean, the list goes on. So really excited that the news is out there. We have so many great solutions that are going to be available. I hope that you check them out and learn what Poly's got to offer. I mean, some of this AI-based software, AI is a super hot topic right now. And like you said before, we've been doing it for years. We are experts in what we do, and we are enabling a better meeting experience, whether you're working from home, your kitchen table, you're on the go, you're in the office. I mean, we have something for everyone. So. Yeah,
and I was having a conversation earlier today with the gentleman who's managing our room systems right now, Jay McCardle, good friend, good colleague, known for years. And he was telling me, look, I don't have a problem getting out announcements early, telling people, as long as we've got engineering commits for the announcement, as long as we have it. Our competitors, they've announced products, honestly, that they've never even come out with. A couple of years ago, there was this new thing that was going to come out, and it just never comes out. We've got somebody else showing a product that's a 10-year-old telepresence that we know form factor-wise doesn't work. As soon as you have a second or third party, the whole thing blows up. So we would love to tell you about some of the things we're working on. Really amazing stuff for the end of this year that HP and Poly are going to come out, especially with the combination of HP and Poly technology and engineering. But we're not going to announce it even in advance until we've got engineering commits to know that we're going to be coming out with it. So that's one of the differences between us and our competitors, which I think is really cool. So that's kind of it from the show this year. We're going to have one of my colleagues on the show probably next week to kind of walk us through 4.1 to let people know exactly what the features are and how to do it. It's a little bit of a better upgrade path than it was to get to 4.0. Yep. It's not quite as hard, but as long as you're on 4.0, you'll be fine. In the interim, if somebody wants to reach out to you, Brian, and get more information from you, what should they do?
Sure, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way.
Absolutely. Not a hard name to spell.
Yep.
And Shannon, you?
Yeah, same thing. Shannon Shamoon. Find me on LinkedIn.
Find you on LinkedIn. Okay,
Thank
terrific. I knew that was going to fall before the show ended. So for all of my colleagues at HP and Poly, I'm David Danto. Thank you so much for watching the special edition from InfoComm 2023, and we will see you next week. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks so much.